transition from a service user through to a staff member. But before we start, I'm just going to run you through some of the COVID rules. Well, news more like than rules. Everybody knows the rules by now. So, in the past week or so, we've seen news of a vaccine could be pushed out by December, like mid-December. Now, I think that'd be incredible personally, although I don't know how likely it is going to be. Also, we will be leaving our lockdown on the 3rd of December, hopefully, which will be really good because then we can all get out, go to our Christmas shopping and everything, as long as we remain safe, stay apart from people, everything will be all good. But also, on Monday, Boris Johnson will be announcing his COVID winter plan, which means we'll have guidelines set out ready to see what we can and can't do. Now, I'm not too sure what they're going to be. I wish I could give some more information, but I'll have to wait until that happens on Monday. In more news, the R rate across the UK has been falling. Now, the R rate, for anybody who doesn't know, is the rate of infection. So, the ideal thing for it is for it to be below 1. Because if it is at 1, then for every person who is infected with COVID, they will pass it on to one more person. When it's above 1, so 1.1, 1.2, it's harder to think about it in just one person to another, as there isn't such a thing as a 0.1 of a person. But if you think of it as 10 people, so if 10 people to have it and the R rate was 1.1, statistically they would pass it to 11 people, and so on, and it causes an exponential growth, which is what will lead to more cases and just an exponential spread of the virus. And that is why it is so important to maintain social distancing, to make sure that we are cleaning our hands and just wearing face coverings where we can. But with it falling, that is a good sign that we will be out of lockdown properly soon, and restrictions will start to be lifted in time for Christmas, which I cannot wait for. I'm looking forward to having my Christmas dinner more than anything else at the moment. And now, on to my interview with Chris. Now, Chris is going to be telling us about his experiences as a service user in the YMCA and how it has affected him changing from service user to staff. So, today I'm joined by Chris. Now, Chris was part of the YMCA as a user to begin with, but now he's transitioned into a full-time youth worker. How was that for you, Chris?
Well, it was exciting. It was a bit of everything. I'm completely honest. It was exciting, but it was worrying. You know, it was like there was all different things that it came with. Like, it was amazing to have the job because it's really fun work to do, and you work with really good people. But you know, there's other sides to it. So there was one slight dampening to it, of which didn't really get brought up too much, and it's because I went from service user to staff member. Like, there were certain people who couldn't really talk to anymore, who I lived with, and who carried on living at the hostel when I was still a worker. So, yeah.
That must have been a bit of a strange thing for you to experience, to be honest. You've gone from being almost like their friend to then being a staff member, so then being in charge of what happens to a certain extent.
Well, exactly that. Because what a common thing to happen is when you leave a hostel, once you've lived there for quite a while as well, obviously, once you leave there and you do move on, a very common thing to happen is you go back and visit. And a lot of people who, you know, like when I was living there, moved out, but they were still back within the next week just visiting, because everyone was mates still.
Yeah.
But I left, I became staff member, and I couldn't do that because, you know, that is a professional boundaries thing. Plus, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it, but I didn't want the fact of I was a resident who, you know, worked towards being a staff member to kind of define me.
Yeah.
I didn't want, and you know, when you're working with in housing as well, like I do some housing shifts at King's Lynn. Some of them do know that I used to be a resident because it's popped up in slight conversations between offers and stuff. But I don't, you know, constantly bring it up because that's not that's not going to define me here. Like, I want my work to define me, not the fact of I've lived here and done it myself.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, to be honest. You wouldn't want something like that to be then like, so when you meet someone, they're like, oh, you're the guy who went from service user to staff member. You don't want that to be the only thing people know about you.
Yeah, Exactly.
So how did you find it whilst you were a service user? What opportunities did you seem like find that you had?
Oh well, with YMCA, like I have so just to get an idea of like generally I'm going to big up YMCA here quite a bit. Just to get an idea, I have lived in three hostels and YMCA is only one of them. YMCA honestly give the best opportunities, like the amount of positive activities they set up to get their residents and their clients active and doing stuff is really great, really great. Like no other hostel I lived in had put any effort really into positive activities. Maybe like a beaten up pool table, like a really beaten up pool table might sit in the living room behind a sofa, of which never gets used in the other
Yeah.
hostels. Whereas YMCA, like we had people who come and done cage football outside. It was brilliant, you know. Um,
So, whilst you were in housing, then you said that there was a lot of opportunities, such as like being able to play sports and stuff, but opportunities for improvement as well. What did you have? So, like, was there personal growth things you could do?
Oh, definitely. So I've covered what we've done with the positive activity part. Well, the positive activity part is kind of the part of the next part as well. So pretty much within housing, you sign a tenancy agreement of which does state that you will do 10 hours of positive activity a week. Now that sounds like, like just, well, it doesn't sound like much, but pretty much what it means and what the idea of it is, which is very helpful, I think, anyway, is it just means that you're going to do something with your life, and not just stay in your house if when you move on. So positive activity covers anything from work and education to joining in with the activities that YMCA run. So I took on, well, I'd done a lot of the activities because I always enjoyed them, but the main thing I'd done to cover my part was the volunteering, and that's with Charlie. And back then, youth and community department only had one youth group. Carried on, went on to two shortly after, of which was Casey Youth Club in Great Yarmouth. And I started to volunteer at these and dedicated each week. And after quite a lot of dedication, I got put onto a traineeship level two in youth work while living in the hostel still. And that's where my kind of journey with working for YMCA started, I suppose. So I started with the volunteering and then went on to the level two in youth work. After completing the level two in youth work, I moved out of YMCA. And shortly after I moved out, I was then put onto the well, I was put onto bank staff, and then I worked on one project on top of that. And then when November hit, I started my apprenticeship, level three in youth work from George Williams College, which is based in London, so I've done long distance education.
Oh, that's really cool. So, the YMCA then was really like influential in you being able to get like a further education almost to learn a new skill and then eventually transition that skill into a job, would you say?
Oh, definitely, definitely. YMCA, I've always seen you always like if just if you well in like any department of YMCA, if you just from talking to people and looking around, you'll see how much like they are really about personal growth. Like as soon as I moved into YMCA, there was a guy who was working in the kitchen of who I had met many years before. Just before I left high school, I'd met him. He was the boyfriend of a girl who I knew in my year group, and we're around the same age. And I went to I moved into YMCA because I became homeless. The hospital I was living at was central, and they do your food for you. And there was a guy in the kitchen, and that was him, and he was on an apprenticeship there in the kitchen.
So that's really cool. So
So
they almost
I hadn't seen the guy in about 4 or 5 years. And the next time I see him, he's with YMCA, he's living there, not in Central, but another part of YMCA, and he is an apprentice in the kitchen, so I'm doing great. So, you know,
yeah, that's really cool. So the YMCA is a good place for like, opportunities to have apprenticeships or just help with getting a job, even stuff as simple as like
even,
help with.
even now, even now as a full staff member, there's still personal growth in it. I've completed my level three now, but there's still additional training of which isn't mandatory, but is optional, of which we're all allowed to do, of which is more personal growth, more learning. It's going to help me improve at my work.
Yeah. Well, it's as a user and also as a staff member, there's just good opportunities for education, just furthering yourself and your knowledge, really, which I think is really
Uh-huh.
beneficial.
Definitely. Yeah, even within YMCA, like as a staff member, you can progress like beyond what you thought you could with all this additional training. And there's also always training online if you look around. But one of the best things that I've noticed as well with our youth groups is there's a thing that has been going on called peer mentoring. And so there's even progression for like the young people who just come to our youth groups if they choose to.
Yeah, that's really good. There's a lot of youth groups available. I mean, currently, because of COVID, obviously, we've had to transition most of it online, but there's still a lot of opportunities for just development within those groups. So, before you moved into the YMCA, in Norwich, did you feel like there was very many opportunities for you to be able to do anything, like anything that was offered by external services, anything you could do at all?
Um, Well, in Norwich, you do find that a lot of things are referral only, and then to go and jump through all the hoops for the referral, just it seems to take forever. And, it's just not fast enough, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, further education wise, I'm sure there probably is, but it's not very well advertised.
No.
You got to search the dark corners of everything to actually find it.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those things that's a really almost set up to be quite inaccessible for a lot of people, and the referral systems for a lot of things will just take months and months. Because I've been on the
Well,
receiving end of referrals to join to places before, and I've just been sat there for months waiting to hear back for anything at all.
exactly, referrals just I understand the point of it because then you can keep like, obviously since working and doing paperwork quite a
Yeah,
lot, you do understand it. But at the same time, you understand it, but it's just so long.
it
I don't
is.
know if it's understaffed. I don't know. I don't like in their projects. So, but
But
yeah,
it's just a long-winded process at the end of the day, which is just a bit difficult for people who want to access it.
definitely.
But the YMCA, whilst you were there, did you find that you were able to access things a lot quicker then? So it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
just
oh, yeah. Well,
waiting.
with YMCA being is, like they are quite big, they've got a lot of different departments, and within that is a very good training department. So, finding further training that way is brilliant because they've got a lot of it in-house. Also, they know the connections who aren't in-house to bring them in if the training is needed or wanted. But also, like, the great thing is the support workers there in the hostel knew exactly where to look. And I think that's the key thing of it, really, is knowing where to look because, quite a lot of things are hidden. And once you find it, yeah, you got to think of that course costs. So how you're going to fund that, and then these staff members would know, like grants and companies and charities that give money towards other people's education. So they knew where to apply for that to get the funding for me to be able to actually do it. Because living in a hostel beyond the age of where you can get free education is going to cost, and
Yeah,
it's not cheap. And if I had the money to spend on a course, I wouldn't be living in a hostel.
yeah, exactly. But even just as somebody who isn't living in a hostel, I feel no, the YMCA really just offers a lot more in terms of being able to access services than your standard routes of like waiting lists, referrals.
Definitely.
There's a lot
Yeah,
more.
otherwise, yeah, great in the way of where they can also have projects like the YIF, for example. And if you volunteer or work on the YIF, you're automatically allowed to do certain training, and you're allowed to enlist on it, even if even if you're not a full-time like paid member of staff. If you're just a volunteer, you can just join it, and it's brilliant. Like just a volunteer is just as important. And that's another thing as well. Where being a volunteer, like you feel like a staff member. You don't feel like you're, just there floating around. You're hands on. You're getting involved. You feel really a part of the team, and
Yeah,
that like doesn't feel like there is a ranking system.
no, volunteering is almost just like really good work experience, but you're also treated like you're actually part of the team. You're there, you're
Exactly.
helping out,
Got the
and you matter
respect of
just
the
as
other
much.
staff as well, because you are as a volunteer, you do have to do all the mandatory training as well.
Yeah,
So
you are there and you are valued just as much as the other staff members, which I think is wonderful, because a lot of places that take volunteers, it's almost just like someone there, just an extra pair of hands. They're not actually involved deeply.
Exactly. That's why I used to, when I lived in Norwich and we were working in King's Lynn on Fridays only, sometimes if I were needed, I'd still do a voluntary session because I knew I planned to move up to King's Lynn, of which I
Yeah.
have now. And it was good for, as a volunteer as well, just building a good reputation, like a good, like bond with the young people who you're going to be working with time after time. And, I think that has as well really shown over the amount of time that we've worked with them. Like me and Charlie can just walk through town and they will actually just walk up to us and be like, hello. We don't go over to them all the time. If on detached, they will come over to us and they will chat with us. And these are still, like within this work, the younger ones are more engaging, whereas the older they get, towards the late teens, that's when it becomes sort of more, disengaging and I'm not wanting to talk to you so much, but still we're getting, like 15, 16-year olds, like lads and girls just still happily talking to us in the street.
See, that's pretty good, to be honest. And I've noticed as well, especially with like the external projects that we've been doing with the YMCA, you see a lot more people turning up to them. They're coming to like Goya and stuff, but they're learning things as they're there. They've got the opportunity to try new things, learn new things, learn new skills, and I'm sure at other projects this is happening as well. I'm just speaking from the ones I've been to myself.
Oh, definitely. We both know that I cannot skate. I've never really tried, and I have seen 11-year-old girls who are about waist height on me drop in and look at me after and like you're nothing.
Thanks to me
It's
specifically for
brilliant.
that one.
Sorry?
Specifically thanks to me for that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's incredible though, isn't it? Like, what age did you first drop in on a ramp like those?
Probably 13, maybe? 13,
And then
14?
do you see some kids there doing it who are like six, like who are like like 9, 10, 11? You're like, dude.
Yeah. I'm just like, how are you even
Yeah.
doing this? I was terrified at your age.
Seen 11-year-olds bust a backflip on a scooter, and I'm like, okay, okay, you win. All right, you win. Fair enough,
But
dude.
it's just like the opportunities that these like young people are able to access that to really help them
Exactly.
push themselves further. Re-
Exactly. Exactly. Like I have seen, like we do Goya, which is multi-sports and also extreme sports in Kings Lynn. And with the multi-sports one, we do different sports all the time. We've got basketball, football, hockey, archery, or anything, dodgeball, handball, spikeball, and like seeing young people who have never like played the basketball before and like 2 foot tall and have like one week they can't even make a shot and can't get it up to the hoop, but then the next week they're getting it up to the right height on the hoop, and then the week after they're hitting most of their shots, and it's brilliant to watch the progression in them, and seeing how proud they are of themselves as well.
And it's not just limited to stuff like sports either, because I know at some groups as well, like there's people who'll help you, say if you're like 16, 15, like about to leave school or something, help you write CVs, help you understand how to write something in a professional manner, or how to even just word emails properly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which,
that was one thing of which YMCA helped me learn as well. Like I've had jobs when I was younger, but I haven't really done anything officey of where I had like an email and lots of things to respond to all the time. And I just like at first I was told quite a lot. My emails are very short. I was like, yeah, I'll work on that. So a lot of ands were chucked in and things like that at first. But now my emails look relatively professional.
there's a lot of very like strange little quirks about stuff like that, I find, so you've got to be able to do things in a specific way. And I think that YMCA is really helpful for teaching that, not only to the staff members, but to even people at youth clubs if they ask for a bit of help, like, oh, how do I write a CV? Someone will be able to show you, because everybody has to write a CV, and I know a lot of people don't get to learn it at school, really. Thanks for having a chat about that, Chris. Have you got any closing things you want to say at all? Anything about opportunities that you'd like to just suggest to the people listening?
Just take any opportunity that comes. At the end of the day, like always be grateful of what's offered to you and take it while you can because one day it's going to cost you a bomb.
Yeah. Well, thank you very
You
much for
know,
that one, Chris. And
no
I will
worries.
speak to you again soon.
Did you go soon?
Peace.
When?
Nah, it's fine. Just test.
Test 1 2, test 1 2 3, test 1 2.
Alright, now. Following on from our interview, I've just got a little service update from our senior youth engagement worker, Charlie Wall, on our services that are still going on at the moment.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie Wall here from YMCA Norfolk. I'm one of the senior youth engagement workers and I oversee youth provisions. It's been a very weird time, hasn't it? We're in lockdown, the coronavirus is still with us, and there's just so much uncertainty. So I've been asked to take this time to talk to you today about the things that we are doing to continue to support you regardless of lockdown and regardless of coronavirus. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Detached. We're out every Monday in Thetford. We're out every Tuesday in Acle. We're out every Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday in Kings Lynn, and we're out every single Thursday in Horsford. And as an added bonus, we're also out every Wednesday in Great Yarmouth. Okay, if you need help, support, guidance, and you're out and about and you see us, just come and say hi and we will help you. Okay, if you're in a position where you don't want to go out, you can't go out, don't panic. We've designed an entire system online to support you guys through those periods. You can access this through the www.ymcanorfolkyouthsuite.org. From there you can take part in some incredible things like cooking activities. You can take part in the workshops for mental health and well-being. There's even a Goya Virtual where every Wednesday and Friday we release updated videos for things like Extreme Sports 101, where you can learn the basics on extreme sports for things like skateboarding, scootering, BMXing. You can take part in the Basketball 101 session, which every single week we release another video which details different techniques, different rules, different layouts, different shots and different games you can play within basketball. We run a yoga workshop which you can view right now on the website if you just want to meditate, relax and have some downtime. We've produced some hit at home workout videos if you want to get involved in something a lot more physically active. And finally, for those people out there that enjoy dance, we run Dance for Fitness jazz workout videos. They're on the website now for you to use. One of the best things about this website is that we also have the instant messaging service built into it. If you need help, go to the website, click on the button and just send a message. One of our youth workers will get back to you and we're there to help you. We also provide access from the website to the online youth club, which is run through Discord. This is free of charge to join. If you want to get involved, all you've got to do is click on the Discord button, fill out the form, submit it, and our online engagement worker will add you in, and you will be part of an incredible crew of individuals who are taking part in weekly online activities, which range from the gaming sessions every Monday and Wednesday right through to random events. Get involved, have fun, take care of yourself, and we'll see you all real soon.
Thank you for that, Charlie. Now, before we end things off, I'm just going to play you a little clip of our virtual Goya from this week. It is our Basketball 101 session with Chris, who I've been interviewing today.
Hello, and welcome to Basketball 101. I'm Chris, and I'm going to talk you through a bit of the basics of the rules of basketball. Only the basics though, basketball does have a lot of in-depth rules, so I'm going to cover the main ones that you need to know to improve in your game. In the next few videos, I'll also show you some dribbling techniques, some shooting techniques, and also some passing techniques. Beyond that, I'm also going to show you some mini games that you can play at home with yourself up against the house wall, or in the park with your friends. What I'm going to cover first is the dribbling sort of rules. So the main one you've got to remember is your double dribble and your travelling. What double dribble means is to dribble the ball with two hands. If you dribble the ball with two hands, it is completely against the rules and you will give the ball to the other team. The other one is travelling. Travelling is when you're moving with the ball in two hands or in one hand but not dribbling the ball. Travelling is also if you collect the ball in two hands, dribble the ball, and then collect it back in two hands and then dribble again. You're only allowed one lot of dribble if you collect it in your hands.
Thank you for that, Chris. Now, the rest of that video is available on our site in the members area, which is our site is www.ymcanorfolkyouthsuite.org. And all you need to do to become a member is just click on the sign up. It's directly there on the homepage, and you'll be prompted just to give us your email address, first name, last name, all your basic membership stuff really, and then we can just approve you and you can access everything immediately. Now, this is the end of the podcast, so I'll catch you again next Friday. Thank you very much for listening, and make sure you stay safe, guys. Peace.